We're live. Hi, everyone.
We are cool. We are live. Welcome to Breaking Bourbon's April 1st Chillstream. So instead of doing our annual April Fool's joke, it didn't seem appropriate whatsoever. We thought we'd hang out and just drink some bourbon, chill out with you guys, answer any questions you might have, and go from there. So what's everyone having in their glass tonight?
Well, I got three things to crack.
Oh, all right.
So we'll start with this first. Old Bardstown bottle in the bond. Fresh bottle.
Nice.
I reviewed it in 2016. So here's my 2016 bottle, different caps. So
we got a question.
That a little bit.
Nick, GTS 18 or GTS 19 for you?
Preference?
Well, Kevin liked to know.
Definitely not 19. I'm trying to think if I had 18. Yeah, I reviewed 18. 19 was the low proof one.
Yep.
18 was pretty good.
18 it is, Kevin.
You got one of those, Kevin? You drinking one of those now? How about you, Jordan?
I do. I definitely 2018. Gonna have a little stag myself later on today when this chill stream. Crack a bottle and see how it goes. Actually, I pulled out a fun bottle of stag to crack open. We'll see what year it is. You guys can take a guess, but it's tasty. Yeah, crack that 18, Kevin.
All right, there's a fresh crack.
There we go. All right, Nick, what are you drinking?
I started with this up here, Riffer. The Riffer Madness, new riff. I think you can tell I like it. If you can see through that, it's about half gone at this point.
It's a fun one. I'm doing a little Hill Rock Hudson Confidential. Give it a plug only because we just won gold at the San Francisco Spirits competition. And it's freaking delicious. All right, what's everyone else at home drinking? Let us know. We're just hanging out. We're chilling. Love to know what you're drinking too. But all right, so main topic. Well, there's no main topics. We're just shooting the bull. But really, what's everyone's been their favorite quarantine cocktail so far? Nick?
I haven't had any quarantine cocktails so far.
Couldn't even make one up, huh?
Me either. No. Nope. I'm drinking cocktails.
Neat bourbon has been my quarantine cocktail.
I've been on an old-fashioned and a Manhattan kick. I'm not sure how you can't be quarantined and not be blown through cocktails. Normally a Friday, Saturday cocktail. Let's just make it an any day cocktail because all days are the same right now. Let's be real.
Hey, Nick, you'll appreciate this. I'm drinking more dark beer during the last couple of weeks than I've had a long time.
I was just going to say that it's been dark beer for me, dark beer and bourbon and rye. Pretty much that's it. I've been plowing through the CBSs. I got a hold of some of those willetized, Lagunitas willetized.
Yeah.
Like those quite a bit. A couple other ones a friend turned me on to. I'm trying to think of the name of it now. I know when I went in for it at the store, I was standing right next to it. As soon as I said it, the guy said, I know exactly what you want. There's the last one. I grabbed it. Should I remember the name of that now, but they've been pretty good this year. I know Goose Island is still sitting on the shelf locally.
And Goose Island seems to be popping up
at a time and
everywhere.
So there's got to be a lot more of that out than they let on.
I think it's more than just New York and PA. I'm pretty sure other people are probably seeing a ton of Goose Island out there too. There's no way there's not a bunch of Goose Island everywhere because it's ridiculous. Daniel Brown doing well
here. So I'm trying to see, can we get into the chat? So I see like a comment on YouTube. It's not pulling up here.
All right, so Daniel Brown, I'm appreciative of that. That's a beast of a cocktail. Pikesville OGD 114 blend. That sounds like a bourbon on bourbon or bourbon and rye cocktail blend. That sounds great.
1792.
Yeah, and really, Jimmy, you'd think so. Jimmy 3JS is saying that he's not seeing a lot of the beer in Chicago. That's a little weird, seeing as it's like the staple birthplace of it. But all right, it happens.
Ooh, Old Forester, happy birthday, 2012. There you go, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
Yeah.
Jeez, well, 2012 was that the
That's a good
purple?
Year.
Was that the purple label? I'm trying to remember.
No, 2012 is red. 2013
It's
was
red?
purple. Yeah. So I have to say though, my favorite Old Forester birthday out of all the years ever released has been 2012. But this year's version that came out was just, and it was right there with it. It's a shame it's impossible to find, but it's great. It's great.
If you really want it, you can always find it in New York City for about, the last time I was there, wasn't that long ago, like $300 a bottle. So if you're really after it, you can get it.
Well, Matt, we cheers you for drinking that Old Forester. Happy birthday, 2012. And Blake from Bourbon are coming in drinking some Breaking Bourbon. We are down with Blake. Thanks for cracking that. Thanks for drinking it. So that was a really fun pick. So for those of you that don't know, we did a pick of Pinhook Rye back in June, and we actually had Ryan from Bourbon Pursuit join us, and it was by far and large the most batshit crazy barrel pick we have ever done. So the way they hooked it up for us was they pulled out, Nick, do you remember how many barrels they pulled out? Was it 44 or 48?
I think it was 40.
So 40 barrels.
40 barrels worth.
And they proofed down 40 different barrels for us, right? And they proofed it down to 40 proof. We were still spitting, and that was really just to get the flavor, and so we didn't burn out our palates. And me, Ryan, and Nick, it was set up in round robin, so there was 10 groups of 4 each. We went through all 10 groups, and we sometimes pull out 1-2 barrels that we liked, and we want to taste it full proof, or sometimes we'd eliminate the whole set. And then we had about 6 that we wanted to do for full proof, and then we narrowed it down from there. But that took 3-4 hours to go through everything, and it was eye-opening to see what master distillers must go through to pull single barrels, because it was a lot of work. Like, you were seriously working your palates. We go through some, take a break, go through some, take a break, even proof down to 40. That was just one of the most nuts experience. But the barrel we picked was awesome.
We started at proof down to 40. And
right.
Once we got it down to 8 of them. I think we went through rounds of 4 at a time, right? And once we got to that last 8, we went up to the full proof for them. I see another barrel pick there from Whiskey Papa 5280. That flavor bomb, I'm a big fan of that one too. I'm glad you like it.
I think we should address Jared's comment. Yes, Eric is not
I'm a real person. I
am. we often joke ourselves that Eric is just a figment of mine and Nick's imagination.
I was going to put this in the shot.
Yeah, he is the clown of the group, but he does actually exist. We let him out of the closet now and then, but yeah, that's
yeah. I'm a real person.
He is some random guy we hired just for this, so we can make you all believe he existed.
This is true. Hey, so we, one of the things I did want to talk about was, Nick, you recently reviewed Russell's Reserve Rye on the site, right? So it's been a staple that we want to talk about a long time. When we
10 year.
10 year.
Russell's Reserve 10 year.
Russell's Reserve 10 year. So what do you, really break it down a little bit more than just your words, right?
Would you like me to act it out? Is that more than the words? No, so and I had a kind of follow-up question to that too for everybody that's watching this. So I've been kind of jumping back into, like, I guess what I call commons, or things that have been around for a long time. I guess are not always common in every area, but a lot of this stuff that's really good that I either haven't had in a while, or we feel like we didn't review, jumping into those. And so honestly, that Russell's Reserve, that was the first time I've ever even had Russell's Reserve 10 year. Believe it or not, I've always either went straight to Wild Turkey 101 or Russell's Reserve single barrel or rare breed, or, just, I don't know, dodged around it for whatever reason. And I couldn't believe that I never actually bought a bottle. When you see it on the shelf, it's always around, but there's usually like 2 bottles of it, 3 bottles of it at the store. And it doesn't necessarily draw your attention, but just a sleeper. It's almost kind of like hate to call it out, but at the same time, it deserves to be called out. I mean, that's $30 in a lot of places. I mean, you'll see it as high as 40. You can buy it online just about everywhere. You can buy it, I think, in just about every state. From comments we've seen, people are seeing it for typically like $30-$35. And, it seems like there's a lot of fans out there that, kind of been sleeping on it or don't talk about it too much. But that one deserves the praise. I had it next to a couple Eagle Rare picks, and I'm hit or miss with the Eagle Rare picks. I will say I kind of either love them or don't really like them so much sometimes. And I was liking it as much as the picks I was tasting it against. Very different, but I feel like that's one you got to have. I can't believe it wasn't on my shelf continuously the past 10 years, but definitely a one I'm going to keep on hand at all times from now on.
Yep. All right. Looks like we got a few other people agreeing with you. Zero Page X.
Yep.
Like Russell Reserve 10-year single barrel, some rare breed. Blake, of course, with the older rare breed. But we had, so not to interrupt and sidetrack us a little bit, but this is a really good question because we were just talking about this with the three of us earlier today. But Jamie Zimmerman, right? So recently we're doing a rum release to a bourbon drinkers rum, actually, right? And he just wants to know how he decided to do the rum pick and what it might be like, and if it's going to get him to branch out into rum. But this is going to be a bold, high proof rum coming towards everyone's way, and something super unique that barrel's not doing for anyone else. Eric, you want to talk about it a little bit?
Well, you guys know more than I do as you were at those picks, but so it's finished in our first barrel pick in that barrel, the bourbon barrel, the rum. So Nick has it in hand now. Since we can't quarantine, we don't have it ourselves, but Nick has a bottle of it. Yeah, he can show you.
So I'll break it down a little bit. So me and Nick went down to Barrel for us, and we picked two different bourbons, weekday and weekend, right? A low proof bourbon, high proof bourbon. And then we were sitting there and we were just tasting some of the other stuff they had around, and we said, "Oh, you guys are really getting into rums. So it'd be really fun if we got to make our own rum blend and then age in our bourbon barrel." So what they did was they brought out a bunch of rum from Jamaica and where's the other place that the rum was from?
This one was Jamaica and Barbados.
Jamaica and Barbados. And what they did was we played around with the ratios of Jamaica versus Barbados rum in there. Found a really good mix. I think it was like 55-45, something like that, between the two, a little bit Barbados over Jamaica. Then they barreled it up for us. And this is an extremely tasty but potent rum. So Nick, what's that coming in at?
This one is it's hard to tell from drinking it. It's at 130 proof.
Wow.
I think there was 172 bottles is what they ended up with. Of course, they rebarreled it, and is actually this pick because we had two picks. So is this, if you can see that barrel pick that we did, that was 109.5 proof. That was the weekend. Actually, one of my favorite single barrel barrels I think I've ever had. So we picked that cask to rebarrel, and it was I don't know if it was the only time they're going to do it, but it's definitely the first time. I have a feeling that it's going to become a thing now based on that. So then it aged in there for, we got to get that detail again from Joe, but it was in there for a while. It was 2 months, maybe, Jordan, something like that. Don't quote me on that. But so then they pulled it, and so now that's what we got. And this is a really easy drinking 130 proof. I probably would have guessed closer to like 110 if I didn't know what it was just from drinking it. But it still got that rum sweetness, but it's got some like some smokiness to it, a little bit of caramel in that from the bourbon barrel aging. So I don't know how many people on here are like regular rum drinkers. I'd say I'm a rum dabbler, if anything. So I don't have a real extensive, palate for rum, but it's definitely something that I think a bourbon drinker would appreciate, because it's something you still want to sit and kind of sip, as compared with mix or something like that, especially at 130 proof if you like those, the kind of bigger, more potent flavors in your drinks.
It's gonna make a hell of a rum cocktail, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, and then here's the I don't know if I showed you the back yet. So this is the sticker. Of course, people do what they want with the stickers, but get that sticker. We did a quick pivot on that sticker because we had another idea. It was going to go with these weekdays, and so we did a hump day. Believe it or not, going to get a hump day sticker too for people that are, Patreon supporters are going to be doing that. But anyways, right when this happened, we decided we're going to raise some money for charity. We're donating. Beryl is donating with us. We're going to be trying to get some others to donate too. Patreon supporters actually voted, and it was a 50-50 split between two of the charities. So we got 50% going to feed kids, and we got 50% going to the Bartenders Guild there. So kind of interesting that landed exactly 50-50, but I guess it makes everybody happy.
We got Bourbon Pursuit commenting in. This is a good question that we all have to answer. So who has the better beer, Nick or Eric?
That's not fair. Eric has been growing his. I literally just shaved mine. So if I know that question was going to come up, I would have prepared a little bit better for that.
Put some balm in there and stuff and combed it.
Eric's is fake, by the way. That's a fake beard.
Yeah.
Didn't really grow that.
All right. Speaking about the man who you never see or never hear, Eric, can you tell us a little bit about that rye that you recently reviewed too? Because it was a craft one that kind of caught your attention a little bit.
Well, I reviewed 2 ryes, and one was H. Taylor rye.
No, that was a long time ago. The one that
it was like 3 days beforehand, and then there was Wheelhouse rye.
Jordan, quarantine has not been. Jordan, the time is just stopped.
Jordan doesn't realize it was a couple of days. So let's talk about both of them because, Taylor rye I've had over the years, but I never bought a bottle, kind of like the Nick with the Russell's Reserve. I don't know, you guys, Nick, I know you have one. Jordan, do you have an open one or have one at all?
Taylor rye? Yeah, I do.
All right. So it's been a long, long time since, I've tasted it. So it was a really fun review. It was on the shelf at my local store. So I was like, all right, we haven't reviewed it. Let's take a look at this. So kind of going through the process of reviewing it, I was actually very quickly, I tasted it and I was like, wow, this is really, really good. It's kind of like shot right up the top of one of my favorite ryes right now. Just a lot of great flavors, a little uniqueness to it. Just the overall quality was really good. And then, so to contrast that was Wheelhouse rye, which is a total new rye that's only between 2 and 3 years old. In my review for it, not a lot of people get excited about a brand new 2 to 3 year old rye, but it's not MGP. They're making it at OZ. What was it? Tyler Distillery. So it's a brand new product hitting the market, and it was good. And even better is it's only $28. And I mentioned that to one of my local liquor stores here, and he couldn't believe it. He was like, that's the kind of stuff, people get nervous about just some random brand they see on the shelf that might be young, and, people usually don't gravitate toward it, and it sits on the shelf and they can't get rid of it. He goes, knowing what you're telling me and the price point is, how much stuff do you see on the shelf that's under $30 nowadays? We've even written about that it's very drinkable. It's got some unique flavors to it. The finish is a little, unique. I guess, you read my review and you can kind of go through the whole thing, but it was good too. It's, of course, nowhere near an $80 bottle of each Taylor rye, but it was a fun doing them back to back. It was a really fun experience.
So I got a question too, both, I guess, for you guys and then anyone who's watching, right? So Russell's Reserve 10-year plus E.H. Taylor rye, 2 bottles that we look at often, don't really drink too much, right? Surprised us because you see them all the time, you pass over them, right? So has there been any bourbon recently that you at home have maybe had on your shelf, something you've just passed over, haven't had in a while, and then you finally poured it recently, you're like, this tastes really good, right? We'd love to hear about that, about what that is, and see what you think. But I think it surprised us. It made us realize, there's a lot of other ones that we see on the shelf that are everyday sippers. We should probably go back and revisit. We sometimes get caught up in drinking, so much different stuff that's limited releases or other things that we kind of forget. There's some great bourbon out there that's $40 or less that just because it's there now and it's a good value, don't take it for granted, right? Go out, grab a bottle, drink it. You got a bottle at home? Crack it. Why not? There's no better time than now to start drinking some of those bottles. Any other bottles, Nick, Eric, that you've been eyeing that are more common that you haven't had in a while that you're thinking about tasting?
How about you? What have you been eyeing?
Yeah, you.
Who, me? Well, geez.
Yeah, you.
I've been buying a lot of, I just bought a bottle of Jim Beam bottled in, so before the quarantine happened, bottle of Jim Beam bottled in bond, right? I passed it so many times. And it was on sale for $20. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to pass this forever. Let me just get a bottle and taste it. If I don't like it, no worries. I'll make cocktails out of it. If I like it, great, good value, right? So it's one of those things where go out there, try something. And yeah, it was $20. Sure. Not too bad. Didn't mind it at all. Jamie Zimmerman throwing out regular Elijah Craig small batch. Another great one that most people just walk by and don't think too often of it because they see it all the time, but it's really good. It's really good.
And Elijah Craig store pick, Jimmy 3JS, and those are it. Those are fantastic.
Usually $30 or so too.
Yeah. It's crazy that they're only really a few bucks more in a lot of cases than just the regular small batch.
Geez, I think our last picks were what? Were they 11 years old and was it 13 years old? Something like that. Unless you have those details, you don't even know it because they don't really put it anywhere. So you got some fantastic Elijah Craigs lurking around too. Be great to see a barrel proof option there for single barrel. Well, but it's still a fantastic deal as it is. This is from Jared. So have you had the 108 proof Jim Beam single barrel? Another sub 40 price tag. I
have not.
Bottle that, Eric?
No, I haven't seen it on the shelf here at all.
I have not. That's one that we're gonna have to hunt down and try and sip on. I mean, I think anything over 100 Jim Beam is hit or miss, but especially being single barrel. But we've all had some really good Jim Beam single barrels too. So definitely one we're gonna have to hunt down, Jared, and try and give a review for.
Then early times bottled in bond too. Gotta agree with that. Daniel Brown. That's one that finally is showing up in this area. The couple bottles I have are from Kentucky, but Jordan, I think you've got a bottle of that handy.
Yeah,
a bottle of that.
Got a few bottles of that too.
At home or no? Early times.
No, I do. I'm not sure if Eric does or not, but I definitely do.
No, I don't.
It was funny. I was thinking about the early times the other day, Nick, and as I was looking at it on my shelf, and I was thinking to myself, geez, that made everyone was so excited when I came out, right? Early times bib, price tag was fantastic, and then it kind of lost a little steam with a lot of folks. You don't really see too many people talking about it, which is a shame because it's a great bourbon, really great bourbon.
Yeah, I've got that early times bottle in bond. I've got actually 4 sitting over here. I was going to use this chat. I'm going to grab them to kind of get an idea what people are most interested in seeing a next review on. So there's no formal way to do it. Blast out a comment if whatever seems like screaming the loudest out of these 4, that's the next one I'll review. But early times bottle and bond is one. So let me grab these 4.
Yep. While you're waiting, so Andy, right? Wild Turkey Rare Breed Barrel Proof. Great bourbon for the price. Great bourbon for the price, right? So we have a really good review up on the site. Was not the most recent one, but the one before. Can't go wrong with that, right? Always usually a good buy. Usually tasty for anyone we pour it to, right? We're definitely loving it.
Although I have to say, I think for how much is more, the single barrel, I think we end up liking a little bit more than the rare breed, but it's also, what are we talking? $15 to $20 more though, too. At least. Yeah. Mellow Corn, review it. We did.
Not mistaken. We reviewed that one a long time ago. Right? You can't go wrong with Mellow Corn too. It's going to be different. It's going to be corny, but it's cheap and it's fun, right? I've recommended Mellow Corn to so many people out there. So definitely, if you're a fan of something different, right? And even if not, it makes a great just wild cocktail as a substitute for bourbon. Go for it. All right. So here's a fun question for everyone We appreciate that bourbon pursuit. So here's a fun question that Nick's lining up for everyone at home, right? What is Nick's next review going to be? So Nick, read those off. What do we got?
I got Baker's, new Baker's 7-year. Where am I going? There we go.
Yeah.
We got Smoke Wagon bourbon. Guys out of Las Vegas. This is a really cool bottle if you guys are seeing this yet. But this has become somewhat popular now. We got Peerless bourbon. Was not cheap.
Nope.
And of course, Early Times. That's what I've been wanting to review that for a while. So I'm glad it came up in the chat. And I love this bottle design. I love these kind of like throwback bottle designs. I've been enjoying this one. I'm glad I got a couple bottles, but thankfully now it showed up locally. I'll put these up here. If you have an idea, you have an opinion, toss it out in the chat. Kind of just an idea of what people think is the most,
a few Peerless, Baker's, seeing an Early Times lead the way. It's kind of
So how much is Peerless? Isn't it somewhere around 100-ish?
I want to say I paid 77, maybe.
Yeah, I got offered it the other day, and it was, I think, in the 90s, and I was like,
yeah, it's one of those trips where I go there, I grab the cart, it's basically full. I'll say that was probably about a quarter of my total purchase, and the guys just look at me like I'm out of my mind when I go through the register. But grabbed a bunch of commons that day, just stuff I just didn't happen to have, a couple new things, but actually a lot of old stuff too that I just didn't happen to have in hand and want to review or whatever.
Daniel Brown does not want you to review Early Times, Nick. He needs people to not buy it. We'll try and keep looking out for you, Daniel. All right, so I'm gonna pour myself I'm
gonna do my second
bourbon.
one.
So I'm gonna open a bottle for this one. You gonna open a bottle too, Eric?
Yeah.
Well, you show what you're opening.
So this is Nick. I mean, you guys will both know. Nick has one of these open. What's that?
Hold it up to the camera so we can see what you're talking about.
I'm doing my introduction. There you go. Ooh. The buckwheat.
Oh, buckwheat. Yeah, Catskill.
From Catskill.
Yeah. Yep. That's a cool one. So I'm going to open up a 2014 138.1 proof George T. Stagg. And part of the reason is I'll give you a little backstory. So Eric wrote a fantastic article. I'm not going to ruin it, but he wrote a fantastic article that really inspired me to go through and look at all my sealed bottles and make sure that I'm enjoying them. Especially now during times like these. So even though I can't be with Nick and Eric in person, I'm definitely going to be toasting with my friends virtually. And we're going to go from there.
Yeah, so hopefully tomorrow it'll go up. It's about cracking some of your sealed bottles during this time we're in. So that's what we're kind of doing here tonight. And they don't always have to be George T. Staggs, but
this is true.
We're just we got a lot of sealed stuff sitting on the shelf for no reason.
All right. Well, I'm the struggle bus with this seal on the Stagg. Jeez.
Well, I'm going to chime in there about the sealed stuff. So that's what's kind of interesting. I guess I've always had that, just want to open it up. I'm not going to type of thing. So as we were talking about that today, I kind of started looking around and I said, you know what? I don't have a single bottle that's sealed that's not just like a duplicate or something like that. So literally every bottle that's not, that's not a duplicate is open for whatever reason. And I haven't had any issues with, fill levels. I mean, I have one cork, one bad older wild turkey bottle. But yeah, outside of that, I've had some bottles that are actually pretty low fill level for quite a while and they still taste fine. I kind of go back and rotate through quite a bit. I don't tend to drink the same thing, repeatedly too often. And it's just been, my thing. I don't see any reason to keep them sealed. So sometimes I'm a little waiting for an opportunity. Other times it's just, jump into it and, then you don't have that, I guess that pressure.
Real amateur hour over here. Jeez.
Got your bottle open yet, or what?
Oh, this foil is breaking off every 2 seconds. There you go.
So let's see here. Luke
Boy,
Slate.
this is what a weird nose on this. You remember this one, Nick? It's been a while since you probably cracked it, but you still have any left?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still have mine.
Yeah, it's different.
It's made. It's buckwheat mash bill.
Yeah,
right?
80% buckwheat, 20% grain.
Made in the Catskills, so near actually near Woodstock in New York. Cool farm distillery. I think they do classes and stuff out there. That was the first distillery we toured and kind of rode up a tour like right when we started the site. And so we went there once, and then the folks who own it started seeing it pop up on the web, follow it up. I guess the tour guide had given some information that wasn't 100% accurate. So we updated that. And then the next time we went, we were all wearing Breaking Bourbon shirts, and we had some friends with us too. And they were like, "What's going on here, guys? What are you doing?" But a cool spot. Definitely worth checking out if you're in like that Catskills, New York region. Great guys. I think the master distiller's name is maybe Monty, something like that. I know Bourbon Truth went out and hung out there too for a while, and he spent some time with them. I know he was enjoying being up there with those guys.
Yeah, it's a great looking distillery too. The tasting room area, and it's really nice.
So Luke asked, if you've done any side by sides with same releases of George T. Stagg and Stagg Jr. And the answer is yes. We just actually did that last year, especially when it came to the batch 12 of Stagg that came out, and also the 2019 Stagg, and we also compared it against 2018. So yeah, we do that. Right, surprisingly, as it won our Bourbon of the Year, or Whiskey of the Year, George T. Stagg Batch 12 just crushed it all around, right? And 13 continues to be really good too. So not sure what's going on with that brand, but the junior's coming up on beating senior over there. But I'll tell you what, this 2014
is terrible.
Absolutely delicious, right? Wow. And it's so little biasy, but the older Staggs are by far and large my favorite bourbon, right? Super big, bold. Doesn't need to be the hazmat versions by any means, but man, between like 2008 and 2014, 2015, they just crushed it with those releases, right? If I was stuck on a desert island with only one bourbon and drink, it would just be, please, just give me a bunch of Stagg releases. Absolutely delicious. But
correct, wasn't that low, that 128 proof your favorite? Was that 13?
2012. Right. In fact, I debated long and hard. Do I open one of those bottles? So I have a few of those left, or this one. And I just finished off 2012 not too long ago. So I thought I'd try 2014. But, and a lot of that, it's not by no means are we people who brag. We're not. But this was back in the day when you could walk in a liquor store and you could just load up on BTAC. Right. And we did. And it was, the early 2010s, we bought a lot of this stuff, and we still have a lot of it. And we held on to it. It was like Handy was like buying bottles of water in the store. They couldn't give it away. And boy, how those days have changed. So, which is a shame. But that being said, one of the things we would love to know, if you guys want to share in the chat, what's a bottle you've been eyeing, right? Thinking, hey, maybe I'll save this to open it up sometime. But are also now thinking, maybe I should open it up with the current times taking place. You got any on your list? And as you guys think about that, right? Yeah, Mashville, we are real people. Eric is actually a hired actor just for this skit, but me and Nick.
I don't know. I'm reading off a script over here. It's over. It's right over here.
Teleprompter's over there. Yeah.
Jordan sent me this bottle.
Yep. Mashville number one. Definitely, I'm right there with you. Right, George T. Stagg, great bottles to have on a desert island.
See Alex McCabe's comment there up a little bit. Do you guys ever use argon air or wine preservers to keep the bottles? I have some. I've actually never used it, Alex. I've never had a problem with it. So because of that, I've never, after doing the storage experiment and kind of getting to the conclusion that it wasn't really an issue, I didn't ever attempt it. And so far, I really haven't had a problem. I'd say, honestly, if anything, I tend to find that it gets, if anything, a little better after it's been open for a while. Sometimes I found more that I've not liked the bourbon out of that neck pour and come back and felt differently later on. So I just haven't had the issue yet.
Yep. So we got a few good responses. People looking at their bottles, right? Zero Page X saying he's been looking at Four Roses LE 2018-19. Just pick one and open her up, right? There's no time like the present, right? Cheers to the current state of just being able to cheers and crack one open, right? Brian's looking at Wilderness Trail Rye. Ooh, that's a good one, right? So, right, nice little barrel pick and do it. Right, Matt Jaffe's been eyeing Woodford Double Oak store pick. Just open it. That's what we like to hear, right? Pop those bottles. Right. Cheers to that, Matt. Right.
Barrel bourbon.
We have tasted a lot of barrel bourbon. So, but that's a good. Just let's talk about it because I think I might have been the one who reviewed 21-2 barrel bourbon San Francisco Spirits competition, right? The same competition that we took gold at for our barrel pick, they just got double gold and won bourbon of the year for their barrel batch 21. And it's tasty, right? Those guys know how to blend bourbon beyond what should be capable for most people, right? I mean, they blend like nobody's business. So if you get a chance, right, we have yet to, honestly, right? There's some barrels of bourbon or batches of barrel bourbon. They're going to be better than others, but honestly, we've had no bad batch so far. So when people ask us, what's a nice high proof bourbon that we can try out? I honestly just steer them towards barrel because you're going to get a good batch so far. And we'll be the first to let people know. Trust me, we are super critical of folks. So far, all their batches have been really good, right? So if you haven't had barrel, you've been thinking about barrel, their bourbon, grab a bottle, go for it, right? If you can't get out right now, right? If liquor stores are closed where you are, or you're not leaving your house, both smart ideas, order a bottle online, see if they'll ship it to you, right? It's really tasty.
Barrel's kind of interesting because barrel's like, blending bourbon had a certain stigma to it. The idea of blending was that you blended in neutral, spirits. It was just a cheap way. And, bourbon has this purity, this kind of idea that it's, where it's made. The people that make it, bottle it, even bottle and bond, same distiller, you have all these kind of requirements around bourbon. So barrel kind of takes, they draw stuff from a bunch of different states, they're sourcing barrels. And then, so in their lab in Kentucky where they're doing all this, what they'll do is they'll do all these little micro blends and they'll have them all lined up, tons of these. And they're just trying to tweak it, ever so slightly to get the perfect amount of, barrels from here, barrels from there, put them all together. And they always do, so they always do barrel proof, but then they're always, if anyone knows Joe Beatrice, who's the founder, Joe is he's a very, methodical, he's a careful guy. He really thinks through this stuff. Like in a lot of ways, I kind of think like he thinks like us as bourbon geeks in that sense. He's like on the same side of the table as we are, which is really cool. And because we got to know him over the years, what's been fun is just, seeing them succeed as a company. Been one of my favorite brands. I mean, I've got so many bottles of barrel here. We've done how many picks now? We're on 4, I think, just because it's hard to go wrong with their stuff. I mean, it's premium priced, but you're not going to find too many people that put the level of effort and kind of like, I guess, care into it that they do. It's not some big company that's just trying to, let's just make money now because that's the thing to do in bourbon. It's like people that are hands in, just really, doing their best to like put together the absolute best stuff, and they're behind it, and they're just great people. So if you haven't had barrel yet, I gotta, highly recommend it. Yeah. I was a little bit of a skeptic. I will say my initial, kind of interaction was I was actually like pressing them on details about what they were putting in their bottles. And that's when they reached out, and Joe was like very upfront, very honest, very transparent. It's just been how they operate. Just fantastic people. Follow that brand. They're going to go places, and they're like on the same side of the table as,
and they are pricey though. Right. So we had a comment from, right. They're pricey, but one of the few bourbons probably worth the higher price. So, Scott has been looking at a bottle of Little Book Chapter 1. Nick, I know you're a big fan of Little Books, right? I say crack it open. No time like now. But, Scott has been looking at a bottle of Little Book Chapter 1. Nick, I know you're a big fan of Little Books, right? I say crack it open. No time like now. But, Scott has been looking at a bottle of Little Book Chapter 1. Nick, I know you're a big fan of Little Books, right? I say crack it open. No time like now. But you really like chapter 1 of Little Book, Nick. In fact, I think you got a few bottles, didn't you?
Yeah, I bought, Little Book was one I kind of said that's going to be one I'm going to buy each, release each year. So it's just interesting what they're doing. Again, some interesting blending, I was a little disappointed by this year's, I will say. This past year's, it was kind of the blend of, call it, I guess, existing brands, so to speak, but not really because they were higher aged. But I had, I think, higher hopes for that. They don't let on, but it's a cool, process that they're going through, trying to do something different each year with that release.
Yeah, definitely. And, Little Book chapter 1, really interesting. Little Book chapter 3, super interesting too, right? So that was a combination of Booker's, Baker's, Knob Creek, and Basil Hayden at years and proofs that you normally might not get. Wild little blend, right? Really tasty. Definitely one that I stocked up on too. That definitely caught my attention. All right. So here's a question I had for both you guys, right? So what have you been doing to try and support your local stores during this stay-at-home process and during this quarantine process?
I'm pretty sure right before this happened, I was doing pretty well. Have you looked at our finances lately? I'm pretty sure that number has there's 4 numbers in that number, and it's well above. It starts with like a 3. So.
I know. I mean, I told Jordan, but I haven't told Nick that probably against my better judgment, I felt compelled to go visit one of our local stores that we know very well and see what he had and just buy a few bottles that we could review for the website and just try to see how he was doing and help him out if he needed it, and so it was interesting to be up there during that time, being, talking from 10 feet away from him, and we're usually on top of each other, talking about bourbon.
Yeah.
But so he takes me back into his corner where all the bourbon is, and he said it. He goes, right before they we're in New York, so before they kind of like shut everything down, and liquor stores are still open. People just went crazy and just bought his entire bourbon selection out. He says bourbon was extremely hot, and other spirits, his high-end vodka and his high-end wine all got bought. It wasn't the low-end cheap stuff. Everybody was buying high-end stuff. But for bourbon, it was just kind of everything. And he's like, I'm sorry that the selection is so, weak here. And then following that, he's like, I can't get restocked right now because he goes, before this, nobody knew what was really going to happen. I didn't know how much to order. I didn't want to order too much because we didn't know if we were going to be open or not. And now he's bare, and he's got some stuff, of course, but he's struggling to try to get restocked. But I bought a few bottles, in which the next bottle I'm going to open is a new bottle that I just got. So
there you go.
Right now, how about this?
So while you crack that open, so tell us what it is, and then I'll tell you my story, Eric.
Okay. So we're doing, sorry, it's kind of this label is really hard to photograph. Redemption Rum Cask Rye. So
Ooh.
I know not everyone necessarily loves Redemption, but it was a rum cask finish. Instead of, I reviewed 2 on the website that were a rye blended with rum and a bourbon blended with rum. And if I remember, I think it was the bourbon with rum that we like quite a bit. So we'll see. This is a rye finished in rum, and so that's going to be my next review, which you'll see on the website.
That was what? Fortuitous was one of those. I think.
Fortuitous Union, and the other one was I think that guy from Florida.
Oh yeah.
I can go grab a bottle.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about.
I'll grab the bottle because
grab the bottle, grab a glass. So. Right, we have Zero Page X saying liquor stores are considered essential here, and I think in a lot of states you're seeing that, right? And for multiple reasons. We talked a little bit about this, I think, on the last roundtable with Bourbon Pursuit a little bit, right? You can't honestly, it's nothing to laugh at by any means, but there are people out there who have an addiction to alcohol, and you can't have them go through withdrawal and end up in a hospital, taking up a bed in a doctor, right? Both for their health and for the sake of the hospital staff's health, right? So a lot of states have done that. In Pennsylvania, where I'm located, right, it's a state-run system, and the state shut it down, right? So they shut down all the liquor stores. They own all the stores. So they shut down in person, and they shut down their online ordering system. So the day before, they announced it 2 days out. The day before, the lines were out the door. Now, what they are changing, though, is any distillery in PA now can sell in PA, right? And they can deliver it, or you can pick it up. So what I've been trying to do with my local distilleries around where I am, right? Wiggle Whiskey, just got a big box of whiskey from them delivered to me, right? Any spirits, anything that I can do to try and help those folks out right now, especially in my book, any distillery out there that's not only working to stay afloat, but also putting out hand sanitizer and trying to do a good for the public. By all means, I'm trying to help them out, right? I'm the last person who needs more bottles, but I will buy your bottles and I will gift it to whoever wants one, just because more power to you for helping out the public right now, right? And we're seeing a lot of other comments too. A lot of states are considering liquor stores essentials, right? And it's true, but like I said, so the PA no dice on liquor stores. But
I'm curious in the chat who's in a state where they're shut down, where the liquor stores are shut down. If anybody on the chat is in one of those states, and if there's any issues they're seeing.
Outside of Pennsylvania, has any of your state shut down?
I'm pretty sure there's at least a few. I've seen a little bit. I thought I read an article about people rushing across the border from Pennsylvania and crowding in like
West Virginia,
New Jersey stores and things like that because Pennsylvania did shut down, and there's just a fear that they weren't going to be able to buy anything. And of course, distribution is all bottlenecked and slowed and all that as well.
There was an article posted today, right? Drinking in America is up like 50-something%. People are just bored, right? People are bored. So don't right, wrong, or indifferent. Hey, whatever you choose to pass the time, that's your own choosing. But it happens. But still open in Tennessee, still open in Kentucky. Go ahead, Eric.
This one. So Fortuna's Union was a rye finish or blended with rum, which is which one we liked. The other one was a bourbon blended with rum, and that was Brixton Mash Destroyer, which I don't think I have the bottle of it, but it's by I think the John Drew Company. This guy here. So
yeah, I don't remember enjoying that one too much. I did like the Fortuitous Union. I think I've got the Fortuitous Union bottle.
No, so I in my review of that, I made a point to mention that all three of us split that bottle because we all liked it that much. So it's really weird, thing, rum and bourbon blended straight up like that.
Right. That one's rum and rye, right?
Yeah. And we'll back that up a little bit just to explain. So a little bit of the inner workings of Breaking Bourbon, right? Which we're not secretive of how we operate. No one ever asks, and honestly, we don't have forums to usually do it in. So we get, we buy a massive amount of bourbon to review, right? We try to buy as many bottles as we can to review versus getting samples, and we buy a lot, right? And then the other thing, though, is when we do, we also get a fair amount of bottles sent to us, right? So we'll review it, and then we have a full bottle left. So the three of us get together in person a few times a year, and we basically do a fantasy football style draft of all of these open bottles that we have to split up. And every now and then a bottle is either super unique, super good, super funky, you name it, right? We'll actually just pour that bottle and split it up into 8-ounce sample bottles. So we end up with a ton of sample bottles personally too. And it makes for a lot of fun that way, right? So it's interesting to see who gravitates towards what bottles are last, what bottles go first. And since we're all really good friends too, there's a little bit of gamification in how we pick and how we strategize and how we break up bottles. But it's a fun thing to do. And honestly, side note, if you have any friends that you get together with and drink whiskey in person, not during this quarantine, but in general, once this is done with, right? Buy some bottles, buy some 8-ounce sample bottles and split them up. There's no better way to taste a bunch of bourbons than by splitting up bottles and splitting the cost with 2 or 3 other folks, right? You buy some 8-ounce sample bottles, you split up a bottle 3 ways. You just paid only 1/3 for the bottle. You like it, great, go buy another bottle. You hate it, great, you only paid 1/3 and you only get 1/3, right? So highly encourage that out there if you aren't doing that now, and definitely a good way to try a lot of stuff.
See this comment from Taylor. I don't even think I had thought about this before, but no store picks in VA, Virginia. Yeah, I mean, I know what New Hampshire is state run too. I think I'm pretty sure I've seen articles about the effort that they put into their picks, because they actually do a ton of picks. I'm not in Virginia too often, but yeah, that sucks. I guess you're driving quite a ways, or getting people to ship. Thankfully, seems like there's enough out there to at least get some shipped. Wherever you are, there's workarounds, obviously, but yeah, that kind of stinks. I'm gonna pour one too. So this is one of probably my favorite bourbon, Parker's Promise.
Oh, yep.
So just I'll say this was it was kind of fun when we had this the first time. It was probably one of the first, like, really, I guess, big tastings that we did, and we had a liquor store owner was over at the house. There was the three of us doing it, and him and some other people, and so the first time we poured this, immediately we all liked it,
Literally immediately.
and then immediately he said, "Oh, this isn't for sale anymore." All the bottles off his shelf and keep them. And I think of everything we had, and I want to say we probably poured it was probably 30 to 40 bourbons that night in Rise. That was by far the one that stood out, and
only five barrel bourbon reviewed on the site.
By far the favorite, and it's like a no bullshit, just straightforward, just bourbon. There's nothing fancy about it. You look and say, oh, it's just Henry McKenna with a lower proof, but it's like all the insanely good barrels, basically. So if you like that quintessential bourbon, that's one. And for a while, it was sitting on the shelves. Everybody was bored by it. You're saying, oh, it's the same thing as Henry McKenna. I don't want to pay, 3 or 4 times the price for it. So fortunately, we had a lot of opportunity to buy it over, honestly, probably like a 6-month period where it was just kind of sitting around. Oh, I'll buy 1 or 2 more. Buy 1 or 2 more.
Yeah. And Rob, so the name of that bourbon, right? So that's Parker's Heritage, and then that specific bottle is Promise of Hope.
It was that 2015, I think that was.
That was 2013, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 2013. Yep, you were correct.
I feel like 2013 was a good year for.
Hey, so we had one comment that was requested from Chris Wiseman, requesting a live video of an open bottle draft that could be entertaining. We should do that sometime. Just do
we should do that next time. You know what, Chris? We can do it.
We did it. It was so entertaining, and
even for us, it's entertaining.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's an entertaining thing to really kind of like, what's available, and it's like fantasy football.
It's hysterical, right? So you have, like, not fantasy football, but like real football teams. Like, all right, let's run an evaluation. Let's watch them run a 40-yard dash, same left weights. We're like running around with our Glencairns. Let me just take a sip of this real quick. Let me retake this. Let me see how this. No, this is out. This is in my pool. It's hysterical, and it's just the three of us, but it's definitely hysterical, right?
Sometimes kids watching over.
Yeah, we can try and do that for you, Chris. That's super fun. That's super fun, right? And actually, Sam does make a good point, right? I used to live in NC or North Carolina too. So NC State does have state-run stores, but they do barrel picks too. So PA state-run, they do barrel picks. I'm surprised more states don't get on top of that, right? One, just because if you're working for the state, great job being able to pick their barrels. But two, it's a nice way to just get more people to come into your stores and try new things too.
I'm going to jump back up here, Scott Hubiak. Sorry if I didn't.
Yeah, I was just looking at that too.
You guys need to review the new very old St. Nick releases. I have the Summer Cast Strength Rye and Harvest Rye, very good. So we actually do have a handful of those bottles. I don't think we've done a full review of any of them yet, but the Rare Perfection 15-year, there was a 14-year too. That's actually a Canadian whiskey, the Rare Perfection 15-year, and that was one of my favorites this year. It's got a really different taste. I described it to people I've talked to that you really love it. It just might not be your thing, but that one really jumped out at me after I had it the first time. The first thing I thought was I need to buy more of this, and fortunately was able to find some other bottles. I think we all
looks like this
bottles. Yep. but very, very different. Not cheap by any means, but really unique tasting. Their other stuff too is interesting. Probably see some reviews on that at some point. But definitely great labeling. Real small, distillery. A lot of that stuff is sourced that you're seeing, but it's interesting stuff. Interesting flavor profiles that are coming along with it.
But about that rare perfectionist, Scott Hubiak said he's about to buy it. You two guys love it.
Yeah.
I don't love it. So
it's different. Everyone's palate's different.
So just be, it is expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bottle of it. We have it. I don't go to it a lot personally.
Very polarizing.
Yeah.
Right. I would say it's very polarizing.
So I'm going to scroll up a little. I'm going to pull out a comment and talk about polarizing because we reviewed this and it was, where is this here? It was about Dickel bottled in bond. Where was that comment? So somebody asked Dickel bottle and bond, why is it so, let's see, can I find it? Oh, there we go. There's the comment, right? So Luke Slate, are you guys confused as I am why Dickel bottle and bond won Whiskey of the Year for 2019 for Whiskey Advocate, right? It tastes very vitamin-y to me. I'm confused how that was judged. So let's throw it out. First of all, we don't know how they judge their Whiskey of the Years or how they judge their best whiskey list or anything else. We have our own criteria. We're very transparent about it. We don't know how they do theirs. And that's just one person's opinion. But I will say Eric reviewed that, right? And he, and when we posted it, we had 50-50. People loved it. People hated it.
Yeah.
Eric, what was your?
It's straight up Dickel. I mean, it almost is quintessential Dickel because it is vitamin-y and not everyone likes that. I like Dickel. I thought it was a really good Dickel, and it's the price that just totally makes it a great value if you like Dickel. It's got the age, and then it's got the great price. So if you can find it, which I got lucky and got one bottle of it, but it finally just hit New York only a couple months ago, and it's been out since last May. And stores only got a few of them. I got one, and that's it, and it hasn't been back since. At the same time, the store I bought it from had a Dickel single barrel that they did that was $10 more, and that was just as good too. Just there's some differences to it, but it really was just as good too, and it's a little more expensive, but. So that there's a lot of hunt for that specific bottle, but a lot of the stores that do single barrels like that, or private barrels, they'll have a bottle behind the register or something like that, or you talk to the manager and they'll let you taste it, so you can taste it before you spend the $50-$60 on it. Yep. And see if you like it or not. And that's what I did too. He let me taste their barrel, that's why I knew it was just as good. But.
That's probably a good tip actually for store picks, as a kind of rule, I guess. I don't know if I've ever come across a store that you couldn't taste the store pick.
Yeah, they always have a
somewhere. You got to ask. I mean, I think a lot of this with the liquor stores, it's stuff oftentimes is not just put in front of you. You just got to ask. You've got to talk to somebody. You've got to kind of find the person or the people there that are the people that are into bourbon. Hopefully, if there's no one into bourbon, you're probably not going to end up at that store too often. But if you start talking and asking, you're going to probably find some opportunities. And that's how you get, on the list. You become friends with these people, honestly. Yeah. So I think kind of back to that Dickel though. I think what's interesting is I think Dickel in general is just a real polarizing flavor, that Flintstones vitamins kind of flavor that people reference. I think that hits people very differently. Obviously everyone's tasting things a little bit differently for whatever reason. Whatever Dickel is doing, there's something going on with that some people like or taste a certain way and other people don't. And it's kind of interesting because I like that Dickel as well. What was that, Eric? 13 years old and 36, I think, something like that. So pretty tremendous value for a 13-year-old. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then they have this on the shelf. Go ahead, Nick.
But you gotta like it. It doesn't matter how old it is or what it costs. If you don't like it, what do you care?
You know,
What's
and
there?
this one's 90 proof, 10 points less, without an age statement, of course. Of course, it has 12 on it, but that doesn't mean anything. And this is under $30, and it's not as good as the Bottle and Bond, but you know, it's available if you like the Dickel flavor too.
So I think so. John Henderson. Hopefully, this is what I think it means. I think this is a throwback to one of our former April Fool's jokes that we did with the counterfeit X-ray glass. That is a great throwback. And for those just joining, right? So normally Breaking Bourbon does a really spectacular, and we plan this months in advance, right? We try and do a really big April Fool's thing. Fake press releases. How one time we redesigned an entire website called Breaking Vodka, and literally had a full working website about a fake vodka.
A lot of people that day.
We were shutting down Breaking Bourbon, and we got a ton of emails with really pissed off people, really sad people too. But again, this year we thought, you know, not right to do April Fools. But John, that's a good mention to one of our old April Fools jokes. We appreciate that. So really quick,
So breakingvodka.com. Go there.
Yeah, breakingvodka.com.
it's up. We got it.
And
I don't know.
so I just poured some Angel's Envy. Speaking of that bottle, right? This is Angel's Envy Rye, finished in rum barrels. It is by far and large one of my favorite whiskeys to recommend to non-whiskey drinkers, right? Because it's so sweet from the rum and the way they finish it in rum barrels, right? So they have an actual they have a barrel builder, right, on site. Rebuilds their barrels all the time because they recharge these. And what I mean by when they recharge these is they'll refill the rum barrels with rum. They don't say how long they let it sit for. They don't say how long they let it empty out before they refill it with their rye, right? Or in the case of their bourbon port. But it is sickly sweet. It pulls in that rum flavor. It's literally what I described as like a whiskey dessert, if there's such thing as a dessert whiskey, right? And people love it. So if you haven't had a chance to try it at a bar because it's really expensive. You either love it or hate it. But if you see it out at a bar sometime, get it after a meal, right? Or at the end of whatever you're drinking, because it may screw up your palate. And you know, you may actually really like it. It's definitely different, but you know, I love it. I love it. So, and there you go.
It's a polarizing one, right? For sure. That's very polarizing. I was shocked the first time I had it. It was not what I expected. The Angel's Envy Rye.
Yep. So I'm going to take a moment too while we're talking. I pulled out 3. I'm not going to open them because we're going to open them up live another time soon. But I pulled out 3 samples that were just sent to me. Right. These are from Pinhook. So if you haven't heard of Pinhook, great little distillery. They're down in Kentucky. Well, they're actually distilled at Castle and Key Distillery, but the brand is. But it's one of the contract distillers that they use. The only contract distiller they use is Castle and Key. But what I have is 3 samples sent to me, right, by Sean, the founder of Pinhook. And it's going to be me, Blake, Fred Minnick, Clay Risen, and a few other folks. And we are going to be live tasting these. We have 3 barrels. So there is 3 barrels left from the original buy of Pinhook. So these are originally MGP barrels. They're up to now 12 years old. They've been aging. So there's 3 originals left. We're all going to blind taste them. We're going to pick one. Right. And then that's going to turn into a charity bottle. And we're hoping to raise a significant amount of money. Right. We're hoping to raise about $30,000 that's going to be donated right to charity to help out during this time of need. So that's going to take place April 13th. Right. More information will be coming out soon. I think there's going to be a press release soon. Tune in. Right. Grab your favorite bottle, pour one and drink along with us. And then if you get a chance, buy a bottle for charity. But I'm looking forward to it. You don't see too many high-age MGPs left. And that should be really fun. Right. So if you get a chance, tune in April 13th. Going to be something really fun. I think we might be the first people talking about it. Everyone got their samples yesterday, right? I think we might be the first one breaking this news. It's going to be super fun. So,
and the idea is narrow it down to 1, right? So it's going to be that one.
Yeah,
that's
single barrel. And then those other 2 barrels, they're going to keep aging.
Right.
So that'll be interesting.
So 12-year-old MGP. I feel like that's at one point it was like everywhere, you know, and now people are really after those older MGPs. You got some winners out there, and it's become a lot harder to find. And somebody said, "Oh, the new OKI," yeah, because OKI had that higher aged MGP. That
exactly.
I feel like everybody who's been in it for a while, we took it for granted at one point, and then at some point you kind of said, "Wait a second, this is becoming harder to get." and then suddenly it's like, oh, this is, what are we doing here? This stuff is fantastic. Let's buy it.
Yep.
So they kind of saw it change over time. Where it's funny, MGP too, had that stigma associated with it. And then I went from that to kind of when, especially the older stuff became, gold in that sense, of course, bottled by other brands, but it'll be interesting to see how that comes out.
Yeah. So 2 quick things related to that, right? So one, Jamie, any idea how much that charity bottle is going to end up costing? So it's going to be dynamic. And what I mean by that is Pinhook's looking to raise about $30,000. So based on that, depending on how many barrels come out or how many bottles come out of that barrel, if it's a short barrel, those bottles are going to be really expensive to hit $30,000, right? If it's one that, we get 120, 130 bottles out of that barrel, well, it's going to be lower in price, right? So I really think it's cool the way Pinhook's setting this up. They have a targeted goal in mind, and they're going to try and hit it, right? And hopefully that whiskey proves to be as good as we hope it is to reach that number. I'll be the first to tell you I'm going to call it straight, right? If they all suck, they suck. If they're all great, they're great. So, I'll definitely be part of that tasting panel, and I'll let you know. I have a feeling based on some of the older Pinhook we've tried, it should be good. But we'll see. And the other thing I wanted to mention too, so we're going to be doing some, again, I think first people to talk about it, we're going to be doing some Pinhook single barrel picks over the next several years. We're going to do a bourbon and a rye every year, and it's actually old MGP distillate. So we're going to be doing bourbon soon and or rye soon in the spring and bourbon in the fall, right? Breaking here first. And then every year we're going to pick another barrel, and that barrel is going to be 1 more year older of MGP, right? So we have access to their MGP distillate that they still have. So this year is going to be like a little over a 5-year bourbon. Next year it's going to be 6, 7, 8, 9. We can go up to, I think, 12 years, something like that, right? So we're still really excited because you just don't see any high-aged MGP anymore. So it'll be really fun. So look out for more information there soon. We'd love to have you be part of the Single Barrel Club. If you don't, no pressure whatsoever. But for those that are, hopefully you'll get a bottle and you get to compare it year over year.
I think we were talking about, because they've kind of switched over to Castle and Key distillation. I know when we were up at Castle and Key, we went in and drilled some holes in a few of the rye barrels that were aging for them up there in the warehouse. And they were 2 years old, something like that, maybe a little bit over.
A little bit more time. They're good blended. They need a little bit more time.
I think what they had said was they're not quite to the point where you're going to get the single barrels you want from the Castle and Key distillate. There's just not enough variation there. It's still kind of young, but that's coming too. And I know at 2 years I know the one rye that we pulled was actually really good. A lot of potential at 2 years. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. One comment came up here, Daniel Brown, larceny barrel proof seems to be polarizing, but you guys really liked it. Eric did the review of the first batch. What's your thoughts on that, Eric? Because you kind of had some thoughts, and we talked about it afterwards too.
Yeah, I thought all around it was a really good first batch of it. A lot of flavor. I mean, it did everything you wanted. I think what people expect from a larceny barrel proof. And it was at the time too. We were tasting against Stag Junior and Little Book, Chapter 3, and it was right up there. I wasn't as good as Stag Junior Batch 12, but so when I did the review, I gave it a 3.5, and I thought it was. I really enjoyed it, but I can see where there's still room to improve, and I think that kind of was the similar case with Elijah Craig barrel proofs too. It was the first batch was great. They kind of up and down all the time, and then you'll get a great batch. I think we're in store for an amazing batch very, very soon. I remember, Nick, you liked it quite a bit too.
Yeah, I really liked that batch, and I gotta tell you, I was actually kind of surprised because when we were up at Heaven Hill and we did our larceny barrel pick, I was shocked. Incredibly shocked how much I disliked the larceny straight from the barrel when we were doing the pick. It was, and I am thinking I don't even think I can think of another bourbon I've had where I've thought it was worse at barrel proof than it was proof down. But it was a shockingly worse at barrel proof than it was proof down out of the barrel when we did the pick, and it was a lot significantly better at the lower proof. So I was kind of expecting it to not be very good, but I did like it. It was definitely one that stood out for me for the year, and I'm glad Heaven Hill is doing that, because between that and Elijah Craig and those coming out with new batches that are, relatively speaking, probably going to be reasonably easy to get, or at least get your hands on 1 out of 2 or 1 out of 3. It's a fantastic program, and I think we're going to see there's enough probably variation among them too, where you're going to have some that are winners, some that are maybe average, that kind of thing. I'm excited to see that program roll forward, though. But it's also one too, I think I can see how it would be polarizing for people. In that sense, it does have a flavor profile that I guess I understand if people don't like it, but that's why I did like it, because it had some of that unique flavor to it that I don't necessarily get all the time.
Yep. So really quick, taking a step back. So John Henderson, that rye from Pinhook we're doing, that is going to be MGP. And then one other thing, right? So we'll keep chatting for a little bit longer, but one thing we would love to know, right? Like I said, we're very open and transparent. That's part of our ethics of Breaking Bourbon, right? We're incredibly tell it like it is. So we can continue doing this chill stream another time too, and we're going to keep talking for a little bit. But what we would love to know out there, right? We always get emails all the time asking us about different Breaking Bourbon questions. But what's something you've been dying to ask us, whether about a bourbon we like, how we review, how we choose to review things, right? Our review process, stuff like that. Let us know. Now's the time to ask. Let's keep hanging out.
I need to make this right now.
Oh boy. Well, let's see. Luke asked, right? Elijah Craig review. When will it become readily available?
Yeah. What's the delay on this?
Well, no one. So I'll put it this way, Luke. So not only is it not readily available, it's not even available to us. So, we're not seeing it anywhere yet. We're not sure what's going on.
And now this stuff happened. So
and now this stuff, yes, the global pandemic did happen, Eric. So it's probably going to be a little bit longer, Luke, truth be told.
Yeah, I saw another comment too, and I know I've seen these kind of comments in other chats and people talking about it, just releasing stuff during the this pandemic. I think, I'm curious what people think about that. I mean, it's I guess a catch-22. You've got these companies or businesses. I mean, the smaller companies, they're just getting started. They're barely getting started. You've seen a lot of these distilleries move to making hand sanitizer, which is absolutely fantastic.
Yep.
It's kind of like it's that dynamic of that this is a really shitty thing going on right now. At the same time, it's like you want every little ounce of life as you know it to be as close to it was before as what it was before. Really, so it's this weird dynamic of like, he asked that question like, do you release something new? Do you not? If you're a brand, do you release it new? Is it not the right time? Do you hold it? What are you doing? I can definitely see how brands will get caught up with trying to figure out the right thing to do at this point, or how it's going to be received. What do people think? Throw out ideas in the comments. What do you think about that stuff going on, now? And geez, could be the next month or two, or who knows, who knows how long. But that's a good question. Probably something everybody's struggling with right now.
Yep. So a few questions coming up, right? First, simple one. Jamie asked, where are you located? We're always open and honest, right? So we're located in New York and Pennsylvania, right? You'll see us in central New York. You'll see us in western Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh. But Jared asked a really good question. We've told this story a bunch to a lot of folks, right? Are you guys college buddies, or how else did you get together for this venture? So we're actually childhood friends, right? And it's funny how Breaking Bourbon came up. So quick backstory. So childhood friends, I lived in Louisville, Kentucky for a number of years. Nick and Eric would always come down. I got bitten by the bourbon bug living in Kentucky, right? I, of course, had to get my two childhood friends bitten by the bourbon bug too. Several years later, we were just, life goes on. We're still incredibly close, but we're looking at ways to continue to talk all the time, right? And we said, well, why don't we do, Eric's an incredible graphic designer. Why don't we do a website? We'll do it about bourbon. and we'll just do it for fun. Well, the thing with us is we're all actually super type A too, which is no surprise since we're all childhood friends. So of course we can't do anything just half-assed. We got to go all in. So even though we had no intentions of Breaking Bourbon getting as big as it was, and the goal is always to have fun, right? We've been able to turn into the #1 bourbon review website out there. And a lot of it is because, we have this dynamic of fun that we have together is really great, right? So it's been super fun. And then the next pressing question by John, and Eric, I'm going to let you handle this one. But John says, in this AMA, I'm going to need to know about what product Eric is using to make it perfect. Also curious if Eric's perfect hair is a point of contention among the Breaking Bourbon crew.
It is not perfect. Oh, you know what? So I was going to mention this. People in the chat, because we're all struggling with trying to get a haircut nowadays. I mean, my hair is really poofy, and I put crap in it to do this. On Saturday, I'm planning on shaving it, and I haven't told you guys my plan, because you guys have real jobs, but you're not at the real jobs right now. But I'm going to do it. It's gone.
I don't know if you guys know this about me, but I've been cutting my own hair for about 13
No, I know. Yeah, I know.
Did you know that? Did you know that?
No, not at all.
Oh, I
At
knew
some
that.
point, I got the first time I did it. That's what I did. I just buzzed the whole thing, and my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, was like, "No, dude, I'll never do that again." And so then I was like, "All right." I started getting haircuts again, and I don't know what happened, but I got like one haircut after another that was terrible from professional, places, professional people. So finally I was like, what the fuck? I'm going to just try it again. And so just figured it out. And you know what? It's like, all right, 15 minutes of doing that. Then I hop in the shower. Easy, takes a lot less time. I'm good. I'm good to go. I cut my kids' hair. Sometimes they don't like it by comparison, because usually when mom takes them somewhere, they get to go to McDonald's after or something like that.
Yeah, there you go.
But it's a life skill that is worthwhile having, and we see in these times, that it's paid off.
Yeah, now I'm shaving my hair, and you're getting normal cuts. Yeah.
Mine no longer grows on the top though, so that you leave that alone, and you just take care of the size.
So did John's comment? It's a pomade. I use a pomade. There you go.
Thanks, Eric. So good comment by Scott, right? Scott Hubiak. So talking to a local liquor store owner of his, and he said they have plenty of business, but of course their high-end liquor is not selling right now, right? And I think you're right, Scott. So I think we will see a price drop for high-end bourbon during this and after the pandemic, right? Because let's be real, once distribution keeps going, right, more distillers aren't going to stop their releases of limited edition bourbon they had planned for a long time, right? So there's going to be more and more stuff on the shelf. And you only have so many price queens up there for super high value before you got to start lowering it to try and move some stuff. So I will think you'll start seeing some of that right out there, especially once a lot of these stay-at-home orders lift in a few weeks or months, or whenever that may be. So yeah, really, really good point, Scott.
And I do kind of mention this in the article. It's, I think, going to go up tomorrow, that secondary prices, if you're somebody that does the secondary, they're gonna people are gonna sell some of their stuff potentially during this time. And if you're have the money available, you might be able to get some pretty interesting things online if you're into that.
No, I think you're definitely going to see a lot of folks doing that, right? And for various reasons, right? For various reasons. One, they're reevaluating their life choices. Two, they may need the money, right? Three, they may just have too much bourbon. Whatever, to each their own, right? I think that's basically the motto of Breaking Bourbon. We've been pretty open about that too, right? To each their own, right? When it comes to how you buy bourbon, how you collect bourbon, what you do with your bourbon, how you drink it. And there's no right or wrong way, as long as it feels right for you and it's not right. It's not blatantly illegal. To each their own. So, here's a comment from Jamie Zimmerman again, right? Jack Daniel's Single Barrel releases reviews, Heritage Barrel Proof.
Jack Daniel's special.
Yeah, we got reviews for all of those, right? So of those three, yeah, the Eric, that's a fan favorite of yours every year now, right? You look forward to that.
Barrel Proof. One of you guys did. I think Nick did, and I think Jordan, you did the Single Barrel.
I did Single Barrel,
and I wrote about.
I did the barrel. I did the barrel proof.
Yeah.
Yeah. and I did the Heritage from
What's up?
2018. We didn't do last year's, although we did taste. I have a bottle open of it. I didn't think last year's 2019's was as good as the first one. But I don't know if you guys have read my review. I am the biggest fan of Jack Daniel's Single Barrel Rye. I think it's fantastic, and I'm hoping one day we get to do a private selection single barrel of it, where we get to taste a bunch and pick one out.
Yeah, I think Jack Daniel's has kind of gotten they've had a bad rep. And I think that with maybe the barrel proof was when it kind of turned around a little bit. Suddenly people are taking notice. It's an interesting product. The barrel proof, again, it's another one of those polarizing whiskeys, I feel like. And for a release, a really varying, they've been all over the place with flavor profile. But definitely one of those ones that it doesn't taste like a lot of other stuff you have on your shelf. I think that's what I liked the most about it. And the couple barrels I had were starkly different from one another. And that's what's cool about those single barrels sometimes.
Yep. Well, I think as we we'll wind it down over the next several minutes. If there's any other questions out there, throw it out there. Any comments or topics you boys want to chat and chill about before we wrap this up? Excellent.
Say the stuff is still fantastic.
Oh, that's always one of your favorite ones out there. That's actually a sleeper that a lot of people don't know about. So talk about that a little bit, Eric.
The other day posting about it, how great it was too. And I haven't cracked this bottle in a while, and it is still just sweet and fruity. And
well, now announce what bottle it is so people know.
I did. It's a IW Harper 15-year in this kind of fancy decanter.
Throwback decanter, and you can still find that on the shelves usually for $80-something.
I bought a second bottle probably within the last year, $75.
Yep.
If you see it, buy it. That's my recommendation for you.
Yep. All right, this is a good topic. I'm surprised it actually took this long to come up, but a good one to as we wrap up, right? John Henderson, let's talk Stag Junior 12 versus 13 for a minute. Nick, what are your opinions on that?
I haven't had the 13 yet.
No? All right.
No, that was I haven't seen it here. We didn't get a bottle. Have you guys had that? The 13?
No. Well, I actually thought you tasted it. No, I have my bottle sitting here. I need to crack it open and taste between the two. Right?
You got a bottle of 13?
Yeah, I got a bottle of 13.
Oh, gotcha.
I think it's going to be hard to and I'll next time we're together, we'll crack it open. I think it's going to be hard to beat 12, but we'll see, right? It's 12 was something definitely special. 12 was special. So,
yeah, I think it's kind of bound to happen a little bit, though. What's that, around 9 years old or so? 9 years still pretty good age for a bourbon, barrel proof, coming out of Buffalo Trace. The first batch, which I bought 3 bottles of it before I tasted it, just assuming it's gonna be really good. I did not like at all. It's now been open for the bottle I have been open now since it was released. It's years, and it's better, but still not something I reach for. But it makes sense that over time they've kind of had some quality releases. I haven't had too many of them. But yeah, batch 12. So it doesn't surprise me that they're going to have these fantastic releases with Stag Junior, kind of no different than Elijah Craig. I mean, it makes sense that you're going to have those. You got enough age, you got the right formula, you got the barrel proof, it's coming out of a good distillery. It's got all the right things to hit the mark. It's just, which ones are going to be probably at this point average and which ones are going to be, hit the higher marks. And it's not cheap either. It's not, super easy to find. I mean, you can find it if you're looking. I know that varies a lot across the country depending on what state you're in. But it's one of those that's like, it's tough to, what do? You spend 70, 80, whatever they're charging in your area, or more on a bottle every time just to see if it's going to be average or really good. It's tough. I think that's what's tough about sometimes those batch barrel proof releases like that you might have to have 4, 5, 6 of them before you get the one that's really good. And now you're like $500 deep into this thing for one bottle that you really like, so that's a challenge. And I think that's kind of the uphill battle that they face with sometimes these barrel proof batch releases. If you can't get that elevated high level of consistency, you're going to throw people off, and then they're not going to be willing to take that risk over and over and over again, looking for the one that's really good. So I think that's the issue that they run into. Be curious now, after we named it whiskey, our number one of the year, we saw a press release from Buffalo Trace, coincidentally. And so who knows, maybe they kind of got the right formula. And now we're going to see a little elevated presence of Stag Junior and maybe a little elevated flavor profile, which is good. At the same time, it's, challenging to get, but hopefully there's enough of it that people are still landing it. And it's not super.
We will open a bottle soon. We'll make sure a review gets out there, but we will definitely do Stag 13. Going back really quick, Kevin Harkins, cheers to that. Right, all we were trying to do is get people to take a break from the craziness, open a new bottle tonight, enjoy it. Hopefully it was something good, and hopefully you're loving it. And going back really quick to Luke, right? He asked RC6 versus JD Heritage, two totally different whiskeys. But I think I can answer this. Or favorite makers, private select. I'll put it this way. I think RC6 itself was great, right? I was super thrilled to see makers come out with a limited edition. It was really good. I'm looking for, I talked up a lot to Nick and Eric. Looking forward to seeing hopefully more limited releases from makers, right? I think it'll be good, right? Sometimes we've had bad makers bottles, sometimes good, but this one is really good. So looking forward to more coming out. And
And check out Jared Compton too. You guys should do one of these every week or two during this COVID crap.
We can try and make something happen, Jared, for sure. I think, it's good for one. So again, the whole reason we did this, right? We normally go huge for April Fools. It just didn't feel right. Two, it's really fun to talk with everyone in a live format. I think it's therapeutic for us, right? We've been cooped up at home. Life goes on for everyone, but it's nice just to grab a bourbon, right? Chat with you all virtually, crack open bottles, right? A shameless plug for Eric's article. Read his article tomorrow. I think it might get you to open a bottle or two more. It's certainly going to get me to open a few more bottles. I think it's really relevant in a time like these. So yeah, hopefully we can do some more of these. Hopefully you guys tune in, right? If you haven't already, give us a subscribe on YouTube. If you're watching on YouTube, a like on Facebook. If you're watching on Facebook, we'd appreciate it. And we will make sure that we do some more of these for you all. We'll do some different formats, right? We'll do some more AMAs, some chill streams, whatever you guys want. We're just here to have fun, right? And make sure that we bring you guys something fun to do. And honestly, that's why we run Breaking Bourbon, right? We're passionate about whiskey. We're passionate about educating consumers. And really, we're passionate about having fun together, the three of us, right? And making sure that's hopefully conveyed in all of our reviews and articles we do, and helps you all out a little bit more in life when it comes to American whiskey.
I'm curious in the chat what people were opening and drinking tonight. I know I'm pretty sure George T. Stagg was in the mix there for maybe Kevin Harkins. What else was in the mix from people?
I like Taylor Morris's comment to it, especially when we aren't rolling to work in the morning. I mean, I think that helps too.
It does make it a little bit easier.
I mean, in my opinion, we're probably not going to be going back to work for a little while. So, I mean, this is kind of fun.
Speak for yourself.
Well, yeah, you're a little different situation.
This was fun.
I need to bring some bottles in with me. That's my problem. I don't have any bottles there, so it'll change the day.
Bourboner with a vault full of booze at the office, but we can try and fix that too.
Yeah. So, thanks everybody for joining in.
Yeah, this is super fun.
Always fun. Just kick back, relax. I think this is our first live thing that we've hosted. No format, just kind of hang out with people.
Chill stream, right? And I think that's what we needed. Hopefully that's what you needed. Just a chill stream.
Scott Hubiak, Whistle Pig, 10-year single barrel. I think I've got a fantastic whistle.
Glad you opened it, Scott. Good for you. That's what we're excited about.
What's their new piggyback I had too, which was very cinnamon forward, but it was interesting. I'd like to maybe review it.
Cheers, Julie. Good cheers. We got a Weller Full Proof by Booza King. We got a compared Russell Reserve 10 to 101 by Taylor. And
I would say, you know what, Taylor, I pulled out the Russell's Reserve. Well, when I did the review I just did, I pulled out the 101. I pulled out some other wild turkeys, compared them. I will say, you know, like in that side-by-side 101, just that proof, it really kind of takes the spotlight away a little bit from that 90 proof that Russell's Reserve 10-year comes in at. And I find this when I drink in flights or that kind of thing, the higher proofs tend to really lead the way, or at least the more flavorful tend to lead the way. Whereas when I was just on the Russell's Reserve 10-year on its own, nothing else, just relaxing with it, that's where I kind of felt it was, you know, shining a little bit more. But 101 is hard to beat, fantastic value. But I see where you're getting there, and I definitely, you know, that comparison side by side, I would say probably would be on the same light when I do them right next to each other. Interesting comparison for sure. A couple more roses from Brian Mackey.
Yep.
Small batch select, and
Absolutely.
must be a single barrel OESQ.
Cool. So I think we're probably going to wind it down here. I think for those who have been with us since the beginning, we thank you. For those just tuning in, we'll see you again soon. I think this was super fun, right? Drop us an email, bbteam@breakingbourbon.com. Reach us on any of the social platforms if there are topics you want to talk to us about, you want us to talk about. Really, we're just going to keep cracking bottles during this time. Going to keep chatting with each other, keep having fun, and chatting with you all too, right? That's the main point. So, reminder, if there's been unopened bottles in your life that you're holding on to, read Eric's article tomorrow. They will hopefully be
but this is more of my personal thing that I am opening bottles. That, you know, you do what you want with yours.
Your article inspired me to crack that 2014 stags, Eric. I hope it inspires a few other people to do the same, right? I think I walked away with a new appreciation of looking at unopened bottles that way. So, well, we're gonna end this. We're gonna end this chill stream. Hopefully, everyone has a safe, healthy, sane night and days ahead of them. We will definitely be doing this again soon. And we appreciate, as always, we appreciate your viewership, your readership, and your support. So thanks all.
Yep. Thank you.
Thanks. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.